Uh, All right, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining my presentation. My name is Anthony Justin Zafra. I am a fourth year psychology major with a minor in education. Under the guidance of my faculty mentor, Dr. Rebecca A. Rickard, I have conducted the honors thesis based on the transition from the semester system to the quarter system. Before I get started on my study, I just want to say some acknowledgement to the many people who have helped me throughout this thesis of mine. I want to first express my deepest thanks to my faculty mentor, Dr. Rickard, for her mentorship and guidance to this program, from her letting me join the Childhood Connection Lab here at UCR as a research assistant, from here teaching me about SPSS, teaching me about the RAB process, letting me take a Psych 182E class in spring quarter of 2020. Her guidance was immensely helpful, and I just want to say my deepest, sincerest thanks to her. In addition to that, I would also like to thank my family and my friends for being there for me morally when I was like through down and ups. I just want to say thank you to them. I would also like to thank Transfers First, which is a program I am a transfer ambassador in. And under the leadership of Shelley Stewart and Dr. Christina Akoff, they have allowed me to gain more participants in this thesis. And without them, I wouldn't have been able to complete it. And I just want to say thank you to them. I also want to thank Brianna Cabrera. She is a grad student in the Childhood Cognition Lab under the direction of Dr. Rickard as well. And she has helped me so much from APA, from interpreting my results, and just helping me a lot on my paper. And thank you so much to her for that. And finally, I'm also affiliated with the University Honors Program here at UCR, and I want to give them my sincerest thanks for being there for us honors students and for providing me an opportunity to do something that I am interested in. This opportunity is something that I will never forget, ever. So to introduce my study, there are three types of academic calendars. There is the semester system, which is consisted of 2 terms. Each of them is 15 to 16 weeks. It is the fall and spring term. There is the quarter system, for which we're all in right now. And this is 3 terms, and each of them have 10 weeks, fall, winter, and spring. And finally, there is the trimester term. And this one also has 3 terms, fall, winter, and spring, but it has 12 weeks in it. And all of these do have the optional summer session, but it was summer wasn't measured here for this study. So this study was concentrated based on the semester and the quarter system, and there's some background and prior research in refer to this. One of them is based on Brown, 1992, where he attests that in a semester system, students have an extra time to study, yet in the quarter system, it is much faster. In addition, Goldring 2012 has attested that there's a strong relationship between the quarter system and depressive symptoms, such as stress when the quarter system pays, it correlated with higher levels of depressive symptoms. And finally, it could even depend on major. So JD, I believe, JD, I'm pretty sure, I think that's how you pronounce it, but students that have the math and science GPAs, majors have an decrease in GPA, with those that have fine arts and humanities major has an increase in GPA. So the variables that I want to test out in my study were the 3 following. Stress, firstly, it could be physically or mentally and could come in a variety of ways. So eustress and distress. So since it's due to the pace of the quarter system as being faster, could students feel more stress or lower levels of stress? And then there's also motivation as well to consider. How motivated are students gonna be when they're going through the faster pace of the quarter system from their previous semester system experience? Will they feel more motivated or less? There's also finally study time as well. Are students in the quarter system gonna study more or study less due to the pace of the quarter system? So based on these 3 variables, I have created a research question firstly, and this research question is based on transfer students. So transfer students are those that came from the community college into the quarter system here at UCR, and they are 2nd year and 3rd year students. And the research question attests that transferring from a community college semester system influence students' overall learning due to a quarter system in higher education. And based on this research question, it motivated 3 hypotheses. The first hypothesis was just a broad one, it was transfer students and freshman enrolled students would have different levels of stress. And freshman enrolled students are those that immediately came from a high school setting and just immediately transitioned into the quarter system here at UCR first year. And hypothesis 2 and hypothesis 3 is based on transfer students. So I was hypothesizing that transfer students would have higher levels of motivation than their freshman enrolled counterparts. And for hypothesis 3, I was hypothesizing that transfer students would have higher levels of study time than their freshman enrolled counterparts. So my method, of course, with respect to IOB, of course, after all that process, was a non-experimental design. And through, I created a survey through Qualtrics, which is a survey-based tool. And the participants that were involved in the study was a total of 312 participants. And they were of 18 years of older, a mixture of gender, mixture of race and ethnicity, and they were a mixture of transfer and freshman enrolled students. And transfers are only the second year and the third year, and of course, freshmen enrolled are the first year students. And I recruited these participants to two subject pools. The first one is the UCR psychology subject pool, AKA SONA. And this is where many freshmen enrolled and even some transfer students would take Psych 1, where of course most transfer students are, and Psych 2 to gain research credits in order to pass the class. So their incentive was 1 research credit. And for transfers first, they were voluntarily doing this survey, and they were actually very happy to do it, which again, I'd like to express thanks to them. And they were recruited through email, and they were provided no incentive for this study. And based on my survey, the survey items that I have utilized in this study was the academic self-concept scale. And this was created by Flowers, Waynor, and White, 2013. And this was mainly used for motivation and study time. And this scale is a 40-item scale, and it's based on a Likert scale where 1 meant strongly disagree and 5 meant strongly agree. And motivation and study time was measured based on, yeah, I already said that. And then also the academic stress scale was based on Bedoui and Gabriel 2015. And this was mainly used for stress. And again, I forgot to say this, but motivation, study time, and stress are continuous variables. And this scale here, the academic stress scale, was an 18-item scale, which is a Likert, and it's also based on a Likert scale where 1 meant strongly disagree and 5 meant strongly agree. In addition to these 2 scales, I also have created my own measurements. So one of the measures that I have created was, I believe the faster the pace, the more stressed out I am in the quota system was one of them. I also have created measures based on COVID towards the end of the survey, and also some extracurriculars in the demographics, such as a job and volunteering. So to test our hypotheses, we have conducted an independent t-test sample to compare transfer and freshman enrolled students. And hypothesis 1, which was transfer students and freshman enrolled students would have different levels of stress, was supported, where it indicated that freshman enrolled students had higher levels of stress than transfer students. However, for hypothesis 2, this was based on transfer students, where transfer students would have higher levels of motivation than their freshman enrolled counterparts. It actually showed no significance. And also for hypothesis 3, which was transfer students would have higher levels of study time than the freshman enrolled counterparts, also had no significance. And to the right is like a visual of the 3 graphs. So the first one was based on the hypothesis 1, the middle one's hypothesis 2, and third one, the bottom one, is based on hypothesis 3. So in addition to test out our hypotheses, we also have done exploratory analyses through Pearson bivariate correlation, just to see how these 3 variables have positively, negative correlated, or if not, no significance at all between freshman enrolled students versus transfer students. And for freshmen enrolled, we have found that there are positive correlations between study time and stress, where the more times you study, the higher levels of stress you have. In addition, there's also a positive correlation between study time and motivation, where the more times you study, the higher levels of motivation you may have. And the third one, which was positive correlation between stress and motivation, we have found that, where the more times, the higher levels of stress you have, the more motivated you are. as for transfer students, the only positive correlation that we have found was between study time and stress. And to reiterate, it is where the more times you study, the more high levels of stress you have. Yet there was no significant relationship between study time and motivation, and no significant relationship between stress and motivation. And to the right again is a visual graph in APA style of the correlations. So hypothesis 1 was supported. It found that freshman enrolled students have higher levels of stress, and this was based on Sutton, Muller, and Langenkopf, and they found that the university environment affected transfer students' overall, found that timing of freshman enrolled students impacted transition, where those that transferred during mid-year, so around September, would affect higher matriculation penalty. Hypothesis 2 and 3, there was no significance for both, and this was based on Goldring 2012, where the quota system pace was strongly correlated with higher levels of depressive symptoms. And as for the exploratory analyses, it was based on DeWine et al., and it's based on the university environment affected transfer students' overall transition to the change of academic calendars, class size, and approaching faculty. Perhaps transfer students may have pre-existing knowledge of collegiate level courses, and this experience was applied to UCR's quota system. So that's probably why we didn't see any no significance relationship with transfer students. Limitations, they was unable to assess different majors. I only conducted this based on the CHAS department and the psychology subject pool. So that's why it's considered a limitation. I didn't go expand my knowledge throughout the other departments. And I did not assess extracurriculars. I did measure it, but I did not assess it yet. But it's something I'm definitely gonna do if I'm replicating the study. And for future direction, there's COVID-19 and other environmental factors. I have measured COVID-19, but I have not assessed it yet, but I am going to do it if I replicate. And other environmental factors such as Black Lives Matter and Trump presidency. There's also different majors to consider as well in trimester system. I want to compare trimester with the quota system and semester system. And just to conclude, the academic calendars specifically from semester to quota system could have an impact on transfer and freshman enrolled students, where stress could play a role in students' transition to the quota system. Of course, the original research question aimed on transfer students, yet the findings suggest that transition played roles on transfer and freshman enrolled students, regardless of coming from a community college or high school setting. And always, with further research, it's always necessary to study this more in depth. And these are the references that I used in my PowerPoint presentation. And thank you so much for listening to my presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions or answers that you'd like to discuss with me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.